All right. Hey there, idiots. How are you doing today? Welcome to the stream. In today's stream, I will be doing a live analysis of Derrick Jaxn's recent apology for cheating on his wife. I'm going into the stream with very little information. I wanted to be able to do so to be able to remain as unbiased as possible in regards to this subject. I was able to watch a few of Derrick's videos in order to understand what his nonverbal baseline is, and I will be relying on that and nonverbal generalities throughout the rest of this read. Some things that I want to go ahead and cover real quick before starting into the actual analysis. First, I have removed all the previous moderators for just the main reason that I would like to be able to make sure that I go through intentionally and select the best people for the job. So if you are still interested in being a moderator for the channel and have experience being so, please email me a resume of sorts as to why you feel like you would be a good fit for the moderator position to observe.contact@gmail.com. You could find that in the description of just about any video and also in the about page of the YouTube channel. There's nothing against any of you. I want to just make sure to do my due diligence. For now, my wife is over on my other channel's page using that as a moderator system. So you will oftentimes see my name pop up in the comments as a moderator. And on the subject of moderation, I will not ever prevent's not the word. I will not permit anybody to have hate speech of any sort, be that sexism, racism, basically any type of ism. And I have a very short leash with that. So if you fly off the comments even just a little bit, you're gonna be banned. That's just the way it works. So I hope you understand this is a video and stream centered around education. It is not centered around slander on any level. And no matter how much I will or will not disagree with Derrick on things, it's never anything geared towards hate. So keep that in mind, and I anticipate all of you being able to kind of join in on being respectful with that. Also, I hope that I have everything set up well enough that I might be able to keep track of some of the comments as I go along. No promises there, so we'll see. I'll try to respond to as many comments as I possibly can. If you do want to be able to catch my attention with a comment, say you have something very important to say, the easiest way to do that will be through the super chat feature because it pops up in bright, bold colors and letters. Also, just want to make sure, sound off in the comments real quick that you can hear me, and then whenever I start the video itself, the actual analysis, also let me know if that is the right audio. I have it running through this pair of headphones down here so that it's not overwhelmingly loud for this microphone, so hopefully it'll prevent the echo and kind of navigate around some of the issues I ran into in my last stream. So just let me know how everything's sounding. I hope to be able to make this stream run quite smoothly. I'm very excited to do this. Thank you for your patience with the crazy upload schedule on my channel recently. I am still feeling rather down and out from the vaccine side effects. Just a lot of like stomach issues and fever and headache and chills and coughing especially. So it's been a time and a half. So I appreciate your patience on that. All right, it looks like I am coming through loud and clear for everybody. That's good to see. And just so you know, if you respond to something or you comment something and I don't respond to it right away, there's a massive delay between what you're seeing and what I'm saying. So I'll say a line and then it's a good 10 to 12 seconds later that you will actually hear me say it. It's the weirdest, most over-the-top delay, so I apologize for any disconnect in that area. But I think that is enough talking about me and enough precursor to everything. Hopefully this is going to work. I'm going to try my buttons here. Looks like we're able to work with this. And you know what? I'm not even going to have to start playing the video before I want to point something out about the posturing of these two here. This is Derrick and his wife from what I understand. So as you can see, Derrick is very comfortable in the frame. He's not adjusting in any special sort of way to be able to make things fit. He's just there, and his wife is having to already have her arm kind of awkwardly around him. And this isn't something that needs to be read into too much, but it is something to note that he is dynamic spikes, be them positive or negative, in their baselines to be able to establish perhaps there's going to be some emotional leakage. For those of you who are curious or might be new to nonverbal communication reading, there are a few things that I want to get out of the way. One, there is no universal tell for deceit ever, period. No argument there. If anybody says that there's a universal tell for deceit, they are blowing smoke up your butt, so don't listen to them. No universal tell for deceit. Also, nonverbal communication is pretty individual. You have a specific baseline per person. There are generalities, though. I will be relying on some of those generalities to be able to get a more accurate read. But if you want to have the most accurate nonverbal reading, you have to spend hours and hours collecting information and studying behavioral patterns with an individual before you can get a very accurate read. This is going to be a speed read, so it has the possibility of being highly accurate, but it's almost like a gamble on the accuracy side of things. There will be areas where it will be less accurate, more accurate, so on and so forth. So I hope that is all clear to you. I hope this makes sense, and I'm going to see if I can now move forward with this and watch the video itself, and yeah, we'll just go from there. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my video here, which means that I will be losing track of your comments for a second here while I do the analysis, and then I'll switch back and forth here. So you can see my cursor here. I'll try to use this to highlight some emotions, expressions if I can. Not necessarily will work all the time, but let's go ahead and begin.
What's going on, guys? Derrick Jaxn here, and today I am joined by my lovely wife, Danae, and we just want...
Alrighty, so let's speak about her body language for just a second. On her face, she already has a tight-lipped smile that doesn't reach her eyes, and her eyebrows are staying a little bit lowered. This is frustration on the top half of her face, perhaps annoyance, and then the tight-lipped smile is another sign, an indicator of frustration or anger, and it doesn't reach her eyes, so it's also fake. All the way around, this expression is not one of, I'm really supportive and happy about this. She's irritated. She's very frankly irritated, and from what I saw of this video, I haven't watched this all the way through either because of two reasons. One, wanted to be unbiased, and then two, I got a little annoyed. So I'm going to work hard to maintain my unbiased approach to this, but I will also be very clear when I'm talking about my opinion on things. So let's continue. Also, I'm going to check real quick here over on the chat side of things. How are we doing with the sound from the video itself? If you can give me a thumbs up in the comment section or something like that, that would be great. I am checking that now, and then we'll dive back into stuff. Okay. Let's see here. And for those of you who might have purchased anything from Derrick or have watched his videos before, from what I could see, there is some good knowledge from what he's saying, just some things that are kind, be a good person. But my difficulty that I had with him while I was watching enough just to try to get a baseline and not infuriate myself was that he presents information that might be good information, but in a way that feels manipulative. It's almost like it's a lightly masked toxic masculinity content. That's the immediate feeling that I got from his presentation, from the style of content that he made. And it's not my favorite style of content. Also, Air. Thanks for another live stream. Appreciate your time and efforts in bringing the reading to us. Absolutely no problem at all. I'm going to go ahead and move back over into the video, and we will continue with whatever this is going to be.
To address a couple of things, we understand that some of you may have already heard, maybe not, that this chapter of our marriage is one that was preceded by a marriage that I completely failed. And I would say it just started around August, maybe September of last year. But, a lot has been said already about what was the cause and all that other stuff. Some of it.
So it's interesting to me, on his facial expressions, the side of things, he has a little bit of disgust and contempt slipping into his face on one side of his face. Over here on this side, it's staying fairly active with this corner of his mouth raising regularly, and it's affecting this area of his nose. That's a common area of disgust and contempt, which isn't to be unheard of when somebody is accused of something like he's been accused of and he's now admitting to. They have contempt and disgust in those areas, be it towards themselves, be it outwards. I don't feel like he has too much contempt towards himself right now, but I am seeing it play across his face. her expression is still maintaining a very tight-lipped expression, which is just biting back negative emotions that she's no doubt feeling. Also, as far as the power dynamic that's going on with their positioning here, he's very animated, very dynamic, and he's also got just a firm grip here on her hand. And like I said, I haven't seen the whole video, but from the little bit that I saw, which was maybe about 45 seconds of this, he never lets that go. And meanwhile, he's gesturing and moving, and she's just kind of like being drug around with his hand. And it feels like this very strange, overpowering gesture. I don't feel like this is a healthy relationship that they're showing here, and that would make it to where a lot of his content that he's spoken of in the past about how to be a better person in general kind of falls to the wayside, as I just see this sort of display here. That's not a guarantee, but it is something that I am taking note of. I'm going to continue watching here. Just so you know, the chat is not up for me, so I will pop back in on occasion to check on the chat to see if there's any questions or anything like that, and then I'll come back over. I'm going to keep watching this for just a little bit here, and then afterwards, that'll be a really good question and answer time. So if you do have questions, try to hold on to them till the very, very end, where I'll just pull over and do everything over there.
It is true. Some of it is completely false. But the truth is, and I'm saying it here now, is that Derrick Jaxn was involved with other women outside the marriage. And
this bothers me a lot, and it's not uncommon. You can hear him, the verbal processing of referring to himself in the third person. Now, there are complexes that enable this and whatnot, and then sometimes people just refer to it, but almost every time it's a verbal distancing. It's either a conscious or subconscious psychological distancing from whatever they're speaking about. So this is Derrick Johnson, or did he say Derrick Jaxn, sorry. Whew. This is Derrick Jaxn speaking, right? This is him. But then he's referring to himself in the third person, which is him trying to separate himself from what he did. This is a really lame attempt to make it sound like, oh, I'm a different person, I'm a better person, so on and so forth, without really giving us any reason to believe that. And judging by her, how she's behaving, it also doesn't lend us to be like, oh, well, obviously he is a different person, because she doesn't even believe it herself. So this processing that you hear verbally from him with the third person kind of reference to himself, that is most likely the interpretation of it, is that he's distancing himself from whatever he's speaking of, in this case, his cheating on his wife. So I know that that was a common question for a lot of you. That's immediately what stuck out to me for that, and the psychological reason behind that. Let's keep watching.
Involved, I want to be clear, I'm not talking about just casually kicking it, maybe a lunch or something like that. I'm talking about as serious as sex, to sexual flirtation and meeting up and that kind of thing. And some things that otherwise may be considered okay by some, in terms of like just chatting or checking on people or being checked on by people.
Interesting. Okay, so on his face, there's no emotional leakage of shame. There's no emotional leakage of contempt or disgust or anything centered around this. It stays pretty blank the entire time. His eyebrows continually raise, and this is a gravity-defying gesture. It's also used to amplify what he's saying, kind of as you would perhaps an exclamation point or italics and typing in font. But on her face, during certain points of this, she has tactfully placed blinking, and I don't think it's intentional on her part, but it is an indicator of emotional blocking at times, or at least frustration whenever a person does a slow blink or a look away. And you could see that pop up throughout his speaking from her. And this just is another indicator that's hammering home to me that she's indeed not really happy about this. Also, I think just about anybody can look at her, just look at how she's positioned and what her face is showing, and you could tell that she doesn't feel happy. She's not overjoyed to be doing this video, and frankly, I'm a little weirded out that they decided to do it together, and something gives me a feeling just by what we're seeing here that it wasn't that they decided to do it together, but more so that Derrick decided to do it together, and she's there. But let's keep watching this. I'll hop over into the comments after this little blip and kind of see if there's any questions for us.
That I've had a previous encounter with, but without my wife's knowledge of it and with us having a sexual history, all of it falls under the umbrella of inappropriate, cheating, affair, stepping out, definitely not in alignment with the vows that I took, and definitely not in alignment with the biblical standard of what it means to be faithful, which is the standard that I'm going by now. Now, I'm saying this publicly, not because I'm, married to you guys. First and foremost, I'm accountable to God. Then I have to be accountable to my wife, in which we've already had this conversation.
Okay, so we could see she's doing a big lip compression. This is another indicator of frustration. And something that he's doing, which is frustrating to me, is pulling in religion. This is often used in these sorts of apologies where a moral character is being questioned. He pulls in religion, or the person who's being questioned will pull in religion to be able to help alleviate some of the intensity of their scrutiny, so to speak, as people are looking at him and really being frustrated with him. So he's pulling in this God side of things to hopefully balance that out, to where he's like, no, this is still, God's still involved in this, and so on and so forth. And it's a very common and easily, you can easily navigate around it, so to speak. You could see through it pretty easy. He's trying to pull wool over people's eyes by pulling in religion and pulling in God and pulling in that side of things to show that he's still moral when he's shown that he's not. And this is not talking about every relationship dynamic. This is talking about their dynamic. She's obviously not okay with it. He knows that she's not okay with it. So their relationship, they're not okay with it, which means that it's a bad thing. This isn't the case with every relationship. There are some relationships that are open and they function fine that way. This is not that case. So when he's seeing it as bad, he's acting as if it is bad, and she perceives it as bad. So we have to work off of that basis. I'm going to go ahead and hop over into the chat here, see what's going on, and see if there's anything that I missed, and then we'll continue on with the analysis itself. Let's scroll up to see if there's anything in here that I have missed, and then I will hop on back over. All right, so it looks like we've got a lot of thumbs up for good audio. That's good to hear. Kim, thank you so much for your donation. I appreciate that. Easy to follow for German. Fun story. I took German forever back in like grade school, and now I know next to none of it. I can maybe count to 1 to 10, and I think this is horrible American accent, but is Papagei or something like that, parrot, I think. Weirdest thing. I know that that's super random, but yeah, I just noticed that there. So anyways, it looks like everything's going well here, and hopefully this continues to go cleanly throughout the rest of the interview. I'll hop back onto the comments here in just a little bit. Also, thank you for those of you who are in here for keeping your comments very kind and good all the way around. We're not here just to spread hate. The reason of analyzing this sort of behavior is because we want to be able to learn, and we want to be able to know how to better handle ourselves and our own relationships and friendships and anywhere that nonverbal communication can come into play. If you see this sort of behavior from your significant other, this very controlling sort of behavior, this could be a red flag to you. It's just helping you understand how to be better off yourself, especially through the lens of nonverbal communication. So let's Papagei is parrot in Russian too. Oh, cool. Cool. Yeah, I know Russian also. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hop over to the video and we'll continue on this. All right.
I've already told her literally everything. I've given her basically a roll call list. If I've said hello to a woman in the last 12 years.
Okay, so you can see her eyebrows have gone up here, which is just one of those indicators of like, yes, I've heard that. That's not, don't read too much into that. But then you can see that her smile here is going up on one side. This is a smile of contempt. She's not feeling great about it. It's a half-hearted smile at best, but then also having moral or intellectual superiority, which is obvious. Like that would be obvious in this sort of situation, in this sort of dynamic. She doesn't have a lot of respect for what he did, and I don't think any of us blame her for that.
Of me knowing her, she knows about it. But now that
pursed lips on her side, this is another indicator of frustration. Let's keep looking at his as well.
It's been made so public. It's important that I first off let you guys know I do not stand by those actions. I don't want to encourage anybody to do that.
Okay, so he has a little bit of contempt sneaking out on this side of his face, and he also does some eye blocking in there, and he's shaking his head. I don't stand by this, and maybe this is related to that. He could be trying to say that he doesn't stand by his previous actions, so on and so forth, and this isn't actually unheard of in these sorts of situations, because a person who cheats will oftentimes have an immediate and very short-lasting, genuine remorse for it. Very short lasting is the issue though. They will feel it and it will show up in their nonverbal communication this way, but it's not long lasting, meaning that it's not fully genuine. It's not going to hold out for a long time. Eventually they'll fall back into their same patterns. So right now with that sort of cluster in there, it could be attributed to his genuine disgust or contempt towards his actions. The real deciding factor on that side of things is going to be how long does he hold on to that? We'll have to see. I don't know if they'll publish anything else here. I just still feel I get really uncomfortable vibes, for lack of a better term, uncomfortable vibes from this entire display that they're showing. It just doesn't feel appropriate, and it feels very lopsided. But let's keep watching.
And then secondly, I know that I cannot build a platform preaching certain things, preaching against certain things. And then
So you can see his mouth is pretty active during this time. It has some pulling down, it has some pulling up at the corners of his mouth. The pulling down is common in fear, and this doesn't mean like I'm afraid of stuff. It can be like the oopsie sort of thing. That's one of the terms that I use because a lot of people get that, the oopsie expression, which is like, oopsie, I shouldn't have done that. But it's still related to fear. Pulling upwards is an indicator of disgust or contempt, and those all still fall in line with what he's saying here. Chances are, if we're going to decode what his face is saying during this time, he's feeling like he did a mistake, obviously, and his face is showing that, and he's showing contempt towards that. Now, the contempt is hard to decode because we don't know if it's towards himself or towards the fact that he has to make this apology, so it's outward or inward. It's hard to be able to say on that front, but so far that is what his face is showing. Her face is maintaining this expression here continuously, and that's not good or bad. That is really pretty neutral, but if anything, she just doesn't seem too impressed. The hooded eyelids is one of the biggest indicators of that. She seems detached and unimpressed would be a way of describing that. If your partner is looking at you like that while you're trying to describe something or be real to them or passionate towards them about something, they're not interested in it, they're not impressed by it. That would be what we can get from that. And that makes sense, and I would be able to empathize with that pretty well. Let's keep watching.
in my real life, live contrary to that for any amount of time or any length of time to any extent and think that I can't be held accountable. You know, the same way that I preach, you know, men and women in this.
Another big lick lip and lip compression from her, still biting back negative emotions and frustration, very common. I'm going to move these up here because it's a little soft for me to hear, and hopefully this will make it to where I can hear it a little bit better. It'll be a little weird to have these headphones just chilling right here on the deal here, but it'll help me hear and it won't echo in here, hopefully.
Situation need to face consequences of their actions, deserve to be held accountable. Guess what? Derrick Jaxn's no exemption. He's not exempt from that. I'm also not a victim.
Okay. So now he's using Derrick Jaxn in an area that's not designed to separate. It's almost as if he's been creating content that he has his own character that he likes to refer to, and it's still somewhat on a subconscious level centered around this separation concept where Derrick Jaxn, the one speaking, is different from the Derrick Jaxn, the one doing. It's ridiculous. I don't have a lot of appreciation for people who use this. It's almost always accompanied by some sort of superiority complex where they just feel like they're better than everybody and have the right to be able to talk down to you. So, like, for the love of God, if you ever saw me ever do something like that on this channel, unsubscribe, do whatever you can to get rid of that side of me. It's an atrocious behavior. And if you find yourself doing that, maybe try to figure out a way around that. It's very off-putting, and it's very demeaning towards other people as well. It's very strange, very odd. Let's continue watching. So far, there's not too much that's stuck out to me for any possible deceit or anything along those lines, but let's just see.
Nobody made me do this. She didn't make me or push me to do it. The next person didn't make me. No friend influenced me. It don't matter how I was raised and what trauma, whatever. Look, I made decisions. I made a series of decisions that I got to account for. There's no excuse or justification. I've already made that bed and have had to lie in it. And now we're finally getting on to the other side personally in our own healing, in our own marital oneness. And now this is being made public to you guys. So we're bringing that forth to you guys to let you know where we're at with that. But did you want to say anything?
Yes, so I do want to just add that I agree with what he just said. There is no justification for bringing other women into our marriage on any level. And it was unacceptable. Mm-hmm. And it's not something that I tolerate or that we tolerate moving forward. And
okay, so this is an interesting dynamic. She's doing a very controlled gesture this entire time, and that's good. That's just average nonverbal communication. But speaking on the way that he's holding hands with her, this entire enveloping of the hands, it's still an odd power play. This can happen in couples, like say one of them likes to hold, just cupping the whole hand, but it is a power move. This is also very evident in political realms, in handshakes. If you see somebody, or actually in any realm where you see a handshake happening and the person does a cupping of the other side of the hand, so they're doing the handshake and then they cup it, it's a power move. There's more skin contact, and then you literally have control. He literally has control right now. If she wanted to yank her hand out, she has no option to. He's quite literally holding her hand there by force. And this is a power move on his part, and I don't know if this is intentional or subconscious from him, but it is absolutely evident. And if you have a habit of doing this, maybe consider the effect that it's having psychologically on the people around you, because for many, many people, consciously and unconsciously, it will affect them negatively. They will feel like you're being overbearing, that you might be overpowering. It's also designed to help build rapport quickly. So maybe this is based off of their rapport. Maybe they hold hands like this regularly, something like that. That could be it. But that's not the feeling that we're getting from it, largely based off of her nonverbal communication. There's not a lot of affection coming from her. There's not affection in their dynamic in general. The only sort of affection that we have here is that they're holding hands, or he's holding her hand. And so that makes it to where it feels unbalanced to us, because their body language is showing us that it isn't. I'm going to hop over to the comments, see what y'all are up to, and then I'll continue in on this. I honestly need another screen. That would just make this easier, but I mean, it's kind of what we've got here. So I'm going to scroll back up here, catch up to where we were, and go from there. Let's see here. All the way up, 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 up. Let's see. Okay, so I have gone up as far as I can. Oh, Kim. It is German for parrot. It is German and Russian for parrot. I knew that. And then let's see here. We have also got another one down further from Cassie Day. Have you ever thought about doing the show Evil Lives Here? Haven't even heard of the show, which I know is unfortunate. You would be shocked. I have to spend so much time just dedicated to setting up new analysis for you, doing my own research, setting up some partnerships, which I'll talk about those some other time, but doing this sort of stuff that I don't actually have time to really just invest in new shows or branch out. It's all based off of just work. I work almost all the time. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to yet, but I might be able to get around to it. Let's see here. I actually just saw here one of the more recent comments from me, from Jenny. Just FYI, maybe think about giving content trigger warnings. Yes, I should have done that in this. If you have had a spouse or a partner cheat on you, this might be triggering for you. It could be difficult to work through. I'm sorry that I didn't give that up front. I didn't consider it. That's my bad, an oversight on my part. Yeah, that's something that I really do have to work on a little bit more. But yeah, so all right. Okay, one more super chat here, and then I'll go back over to the analysis. When he was talking, he never looked over to her, yet she constantly looking at him. I find that a little off. Yes, so this is an interesting dynamic. When couples are on the same page and they are in sync, they will look at each other. This can change while on camera, for instance. Say he's used to talking to a camera, so he'll make a lot of eye contact with the camera. That could be an explanation of that. But the imbalance that you see there is definitely there. Like, that is an actual imbalance, and it is an indicator of their mental states. She's referring regularly to him. He's not referring regularly to her. And that also lines up with the nonverbal communication that we've seen centered around their power dynamics as well. And to be very fair, I do feel like perhaps he is a little bit of an overpowering partner in their relationship, dominating, and not necessarily in a good way, because there's dominating personalities and there's not dominating personalities, and that can be fine, but in certain instances like this one, it can be very, very unhealthy, and I feel like that's the case here just from everything that we've seen so far. Thank you so much for your donations. I'm going to do one more super chat, and then I'm going to go back over there, so no more super chats here. Can I just say that this chat is full of people being supportive and kind about this girl's situation? It's like a breath of fresh air. Channel rules, but so does this channel's community. I have to absolutely agree. that the community here from the very, very early stages of Observe has been so centered on bettering oneself, so ourselves, but then also supporting other people. And I love that. I can't believe that it's still holding on to that despite the channel's growth. A lot of channels, as they get bigger, it becomes more and more toxic in the comments, and I really do appreciate that a lot of you are here just to be able to understand more, not only for yourselves and your own mental health, but also for the mental health and people around you. And that means a lot to me, and I try to encourage that as much as I can. So thank you for the donation and for bringing that up. That is a very important part to this channel. And for all of you that are here that are of that same mindset, thank you. I really do appreciate it. Now, I've got to hop back over to it and continue on this, because this is only like a 7-minute apology, and we're only on 3 minutes of it. So let's keep watching here.
When I've been flooded again with messages and these things and about, I need to leave, or why haven't I left? And the answer is, when I found out about it, I left. I did not hesitate or waste time to do so. And I stayed gone. No matter how many times he came, I stayed gone and stood firm on, I am not coming back. And I did not come back until I seen a shift and a change in his mentality, in how he carried himself, in how he...
Okay, so during this time, she's still maintaining a very blank, nonverbal expression. There's not a lot that's happening on her face. There's perhaps some frustration leaking in here through the movements of her lips and corners of her nose, so on and so forth. But I'm paying more attention to him during this time, because that's more of the times that you can get a read on the other person, is when they feel like the attention isn't on them, it's maybe on somebody else. So during this time, he's maintaining eye contact like somewhere over here in this area, which he's not referring to her often, and when he does, it's a very like intentional look. This is still hammering in that concept that he's not there for her really so much. Also, I'm still not getting any sort of remorse. I'm not getting any sort of sadness or frustration or anything coming from him. He does have a few lick lips in there, lip licks. I do that all the time, lick lips. Lip licks in there, which are a sign of nerves perhaps, but not all the time. Also, you can see here that he has some occasional lip compressions as well. This is also centered around frustration, perhaps anger. And it's not the sort of emotion that you would expect to see, but this isn't the sort of video that you would expect to see. So she's saying that she saw him change somewhat before coming back. And maybe that's true. She didn't have any emotional leakage or nonverbal leakage to show me that it wouldn't be true, but not enough really to go off of here. So let's keep watching to see what the actual video does, and then we'll talk about more a little bit later.
He presented himself in conversations that we were able to have that we had never been able to have in just 12 years of knowing each other. And when we were able to have these dialogues, said, okay, Lord, this is something that you've had your hand on, and this was with me being completely removed from his life.
He's doing a lot of lip licking, swallowing, and unsettled gestures during this time. This is uncomfortableness from him, but I'm not seeing anything in the eyes or anything in that area that would indicate sadness or remorse either. So if anything, I'm getting the nonverbal feeling that he's uncomfortable with this and that he's not settled with this, which is good. He shouldn't be, and he should be very uncomfortable, but I'm not getting that he's sad for this, or at least he's detached from it. So what he's presenting to us here might not be his organic self. In fact, chances are it's not his fully organic self, but you would hope that with his wife being in the frame as well and that organic interaction, it might encourage more organic nonverbal communication from him. And it's just not. There is still this detachment that you're getting from him to where he's like, yeah, I'm admitting this, and big sad thing for me, but he doesn't seem like it doesn't feel like it's sinking in, if you know what I mean. And this is actually common in people who have a very high opinion of themselves. They can apologize for things that they've done, say words like, it's not forgivable, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, just a second here. Anything like that. But when they say it, you feel like it's hollow. And the question is why? And that's because it's not emoting across their face. It's not emoting across his posture. He's not any smaller in the frame. He's still sitting just as confidently as he was. He's not emoting strongly towards it. It's still a fairly neutral expression for him, except for these odd, uncomfortable, nonverbal tells that he's showing here. And this means that he has some separation between what he's done and himself. And this also is added to by this referring to himself in the third person thing. So far, from what I'm reading from his body language, he's saying he's sorry, to be very fair, but it doesn't feel like he's sorry. And I don't think he feels sorry, not to the degree that she is frustrated by it. So there's an imbalance there emotionally for them, and that's frustrating for me to see. And I get really frustrated with people who do this sort of apology where they're like, I'm just so sorry. I did a really terrible thing, and they're just like sitting big and powerfully and confident in the deal, and there's just no remorse. There's no actual nonverbal communication of sorrow, be it sadness, fear, remorse, so on and so forth. But that could just be my opinion as well. Let's keep watching this.
And him pursuing God, continuing to pursue God, and continuing to eliminate.
So that rapid increase of blinking, this is an indicator. I actually was just reading an article today centered around one of these tells, and that's that rapid increase of blinking, and it's like a fluttery effect. He doesn't like what he's hearing or what he's thinking about in regards to that, and he's also looking up and off to the side. So far he's been looking steadily, like down off to the side like that, but now he was looking up here, and he had that rapid increase of blinking, and this is almost a sign of annoyance, which is not something that you want to see either. So, also, I'm having trouble hearing her because she talks very, very softly, but I hope you can hear her okay. Let's keep watching this.
These things that led up to the catastrophe that you guys are seeing for the first time. So there's nothing out there right now that is information that I don't already know about or haven't known about.
I don't know if I believe that. She's saying that there's nothing that I don't know about, and his blinking immediately rapidly increases. That I'm not sure about, because that increase of blinking is emotional processing and psychological processing that increased dramatically right when she said those words. I don't buy that. She buys that. She thinks that. I don't think that's true, though. From what I saw from him, I think there's more to it that he's just simply not sharing. And when she says that, I know everything that's out there right now, and he blinks like that, that rapid increase, which is a spike in his nonverbal communication from his baseline before, he had an average rate of blinking, and then it increases like that, I wouldn't buy that so much. It's too bad she's not looking at him, because oftentimes partners can read each other this way, even on a subconscious level, but I don't buy that. I wouldn't buy that if I were her. So let's keep watching.
And so this is not something that...
Okay, yeah, no, so right after that, following up here, he looks off to the side again in a different area, and he has this kind of move with his mouth. This is another frustration expression, and that large cluster that happens there really indicates heavily to me that he has not actually told her everything. All the details, perhaps. Perhaps there's something that he's holding back on because either he's too ashamed, or because he feels like it would hurt her more, or because he feels like she would forever leave, sort of thing. Regardless, there's some more baggage that he's not saying.
Is new.
Big swallow afterwards as well. Okay, you get that. That entire string of nonverbal communication, that sentence, that nonverbal cluster is a heavy indicator that he's not being fully open to her, despite him saying that he was earlier.
We have moved forward from it. We have gotten counsel for it and continue to do so. He is still continuing to pursue God and continuing to seek guidance and wise counsel from men of God. And that is what I needed for the continuation of me being present and in this marriage.
So you could see this movement down here with the hands. He's obviously squeezing pretty tight because you have to shift your fingers out, and that's neither here nor there. When I hold my wife's hand, my fingers they lose circulation fast, so I move that. That's not a big deal. But then afterwards, he's rubbing her hand after that. Like, it's it's him showing that he's there, he's present, and whether or not that's for a power move or for an emotional support move, we can't say. From everything else that we've seen, I'm leaning towards a power move that he's masking as an emotional support move, because that's kind of seems to be his go-to. But I can't really say that. That's more just my opinion. Regardless, you could see that movement that he did down there with his hands on hers. But let's keep watching here. You could also see that he's looking at her more often now as she's speaking, and that's good to see, but it's still not of empathy. It's just a calculated, I'm looking at you now sort of expression. I'm going to hop over to the comments real quick, see where we're at on that, and then we'll continue. Let's see here. Let's see. Go up a little further. All right, so it looks like we have another one from Sane Outlaw. Hi, Logan. If we would like to request you to cover an analysis on a particular person or video, where should we send the request? Thank you. I appreciate that question. It's difficult. The most popular place to do it is in the comments of YouTube videos. I try to keep track of those. There's a lot that flow on through, but I do try to keep track of those. So I would suggest commenting it in the various videos that are coming up. The thing is, with specific requests like that, I go off of a vote system. So if somebody has a request that's also requested by like 55 other people, then I'll likely get around to that. But if it's just like one person or every few thousand people are like, hey, would you like to do this? It's harder for me to get around to that. So I hope that makes sense. It makes it to where it's not biased on my part. It's just kind of up to what you would like. And then also it helps me maintain relevancy with what you're interested in, because frankly, a lot of you would like to watch whatever I put out, but then also you might not be interested in some of the other stuff. So I want to be able to make stuff that's interesting and engaging to you, but then also isn't like pandering in any way or biased from my side of things. So I hope that makes sense. Also, growth/potential. He's promised their lives were going to be great and a divorce would ruin his image. This wasn't the first time. Her support is because of faith, which is too bad. I'm always for giving second chances to people, because they should, people deserve a couple chances at stuff. But I don't know. I feel like at a certain point you begin enabling, and that can be worse as well. I have a lot of difficulty sympathizing with Derrick on this front, especially if like you said here, that this isn't the first time around. It's frustrating, and from what I'm seeing non-verbally from this won't be the last time around either. This is going to be another repeat offense. I don't give their relationship too much longer, nor would I encourage it to be. Also, thank you, Lauren Purdy, for the laughing pair and the donation. Appreciate it. All right, I'm going to head back over to the video, and we'll do that for a bit more here.
And to stand by his side. So today, where I'm at is at peace, and I proudly stand by his side, and I have no hesitation, I have no hurt, no shame about that. And it's
Don't believe that on her front. She had a lot of verbal stuttering during that time, oddly around when she's saying, I have no hesitation, and then she started looking around rather rapidly, and her blinking increased while she's trying to say, I have no hurt, I have no shame, so on and so forth. Not true. Not really true at all. I wouldn't necessarily buy that. And she might want to believe that, especially if it's a faith side of things. She might really be wanting to say that she's that way or she feels that way. But at least from her subconscious leakage that we're seeing here, I wouldn't buy that. It's not lining up with what her words are saying. That's a large nonverbal disconnect, desynchronization, which can be an indicator of inauthenticity or deceit. But regardless, I don't feel like she's not hurt or she's not hesitant. I do feel like she's both of those things, but she might be just trying to present that not only to convince his audience, maybe he said, hey, we need to present that we're on the same page or something like that, but it also could be directed inwards to help convince herself that she's this strong and confident person in this relationship when she's not being allowed to be, if that makes sense.
Only because of the grace of God and the mercy of God. And
so she has that specific and when she says and, a lot of people's mouths will stay either in a straight line or go upwards when they say ah, but when she does it, it's a eh, and the corners of her mouth are pulling downwards. This is still that indicator of fear or discomfort, at least on that front. So related to that side of things, she's battling inwardly about this, and she's presenting words that are saying one thing, but her nonverbal communication is saying a different thing. She's still hurt, she's still angry, she still has contempt, and she still has discomfort in relation to this, understandably so. I think a lot of us could understand that and empathize with her on that front.
I've already turned a new chapter in this story. We are continuing to move forward, and we are just now sharing that with you all. And
big mouth blocking gesture, big lip lick in there as well. Still discomfort or nerves centered around that. But that's all that we're still getting from Derrick on this. It's kind of weird, kind of distant in this entire segment. Actually, this entire video, Derrick has been very distant from the repercussions of what he's done, which is not an indicator for authenticity, for those of you who are curious.
I forgave him, and most importantly, God has first forgiven him, and I also forgive.
So when she mentions something about God there, he looks suddenly off to the side. He was looking at her, and then he looks off to the side and has that rapid increase of blinking. There's some sort of issue there for him with God. I don't know if that's in relation to he feels like he's failed in his faith, or he has some sort of issue with the idea of God or something like that. But regardless, that increase of blinking has something to do centered around that topic. We have to just kind of guess as to what that might be. But regardless, we can see that there is an issue there.
The others as well. And with that, we are free and moving forward. So absolutely. That's all I have.
Yeah.
No, with that, we are free. And then he's like, oh, absolutely. That's what I was waiting for. All right, so he's going to start talking here. He has a little bit of contempt in his face, and let's just see what happens.
And I get it. Some of y'all, like, this may come as a huge shock, probably a huge disappointment. I let a lot of you down. If you've had a perspective shift on who Derrick is, hopefully it's away from anything remotely close to perfection, and it's simply that, I am a human, and that does not justify anything that I did. But I don't want anybody out there to be putting me on a pedestal. If you did, then I hate that you did that. Maybe I gave you cause for that, and I apologize if I did.
This is still weird. He's doing okay. I'll just talk a second about this. He's doing this thing where he is saying, no, I am fallible. I have faults, so on and so forth, which is true. Everybody does. That's very obvious. And it's very clear, especially now, if this is his not first time cheating on his wife, then we knew that already. But in this sort of situation with the character that he has displayed himself to be, this doesn't come across as him being genuine. This comes across as him making an excuse for himself of being like, yeah, I messed up because I am a human being. And the words are right, people. Like, what he's saying is right. He's fallible. He is a human being. So on and so forth, no shit. But the issue is that doesn't line up with what he presents himself as. That doesn't line up with what he has said. That doesn't line up with his entire channel idea from what I can understand of it. And it comes across as fake to us because of his actions. You can only say sorry for the same thing so many times before the person who hears it or the people who hear it begin to not believe it anymore. And that seems to be the case here, but let's keep watching his little blip here. We're almost at the end of this video, and then I'll start taking some questions and answers and going from there.
For those who are saying, Derrick, I don't want to ever listen to you again, it's totally understandable. I appreciate
It's totally understandable. He raises a shoulder. He shuts his eyes. Contempt slips into the side of his mouth. He doesn't like that. He says it's totally understandable, but he doesn't fully believe that it's totally understandable, or he has some negative emotions towards it being totally understandable. Regardless, I wouldn't buy that fully, just judging by his little burst of nonverbal activity there. It's insincere, and he has contempt during it. Not a great time to show those.
You while I had your support and helping me get the message out about healing and healthy relationships to so many people who needed it, myself included. And for those who are going to continue to support, man, I appreciate you like never before, because I know it's not going to be easy going forward, at least for a little while so many things are still fresh and attached to my name. But for everybody out there, if you get nothing else from what I've ever said over the last 9 years or right here in this video, please get this. Nothing is right until it is right with God. Nothing works until it comes into alignment with biblical standard of how God told us to do things, especially when we're talking about a marital, spiritual covenant.
Yes.
You know, you cannot do this by your own understanding, your own intelligence, your own willpower, your own value.
So you could see exasperation coming out on her face, which is another indicator of her not being okay with what's going on. If this was, and to quote them, on their own side of things and without God, this wouldn't have worked. And that's not good news for their relationship if they're relying on something to hold them together, something that's not them, something that's not their commitment. Then that is an indicator that it could really fall apart. Because say, for instance, later on, one of them steps away from the faith. Well, then their relationship is almost certainly going to fall apart immediately. And that's difficult. So when I see that sort of lingo being used and I see that sort of expression being used from her, that's an indicator that their relationship isn't strong at all. It's just not strong at all. He's shown it, she's shown it, and the words that they're using is even showing it in an inadvertent way that it's not a strong, healthy, stable relationship. It's simply not. And that's frustrating to see, and that's too bad to see because I feel like, especially on her side, because she's having to make the sacrifices now. He's a dick. She's having to make the sacrifices now, and she's going to push herself to do that for the sake of faith and for the sake of God. And that can lead down a very long, perhaps, but unhappy marriage. That's not good. And I don't think that anybody would support that kind of concept. Like to live in a very unhappy marriage for a very long time, the length isn't the importance, it's the happiness of the two people that are in it that's important. Like, sure, be in a relationship for a super, super long time, and if it's toxic and terrible, then that's not good. I don't care how long it is. It's how good it is. And so far we're seeing that it's not good. But let's keep watching.
You have to have the grace of God to break free from certain things, to stay away from certain things, to not operate from your lowest self, whatever it may be. And it's because it's really only by God's grace that we're even able to be here on this video, holding hands. Well, like a year ago, 7-8 months ago even, I couldn't see this happening. I thought it was over and I already had begun establishing my relationship with God. But that's the fruit of bringing things in alignment with God. And the mess that's been made, the mess that's now being made public from last year and years past, that's a result of getting out of alignment with doing things God's way. So that's where I stand. That's where we stand. And again, we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you soon. Peace.
Ooh, can you hear me now? Although I think it might be too loud. Just a second. I don't know. We'll see. Hey, I'm making noise at least. Only cut out for a little bit. You wouldn't believe, right when I started this stream, the battery up there died, and now the battery down here died. I need a better system for microphones, guys. Anyway, let's go ahead and go back into this. So from their own admittance here, the only thing that's keeping them together is God, aka they're incompatible. He's shown that he doesn't care about her. She's shown that she is still hurt by him. That means that they're incompatible and they're only holding their relationship together through faith, which is not unheard of, but it's not an indicator of a healthy relationship. If you find yourself only being with the person you're with because of your faith, then you're not with the right person. That's really unfortunate. That's pretty sad, and there's a lot of people that have ended up in very long toxic relationships because of that. Let's see here. I just don't want to, I want to make this clear. I'm not here to talk about people's faith in any ways. You can believe in whatever you feel like you need to believe in, or whatever you believe in, so on and so forth, that's fine. But make sure that you're still okay. Make sure that you are okay. That's the biggest thing. Just make sure you're mentally okay. And so in this situation, I have a lot of pity for her, because she's trapped by him, and she's trapped because she believes she has to be. She has to be forgiving. She has to be kind, so on and so forth. Ellie just donated to the microphone fund. I appreciate it. I am trying to figure out the best solution. I thought that these like really nice little wireless mics would be a good solution for that, but it's not being a good solution. So let's go ahead and talk real quick about the just the analysis itself, the whole video, my summarized thoughts, so on and so forth. Derrick has a complex to where he's so confident in and of himself that he will detach any negative things that he's done to the character Derrick. Comes out and speaking in a third-person form. And this severe degree of verbal detachment from him, what he's done, his actions, show that he's not sincere in the apology or actions there afterwards. Derrick should have referred to himself as doing those actions. Not Derrick of the past, not younger Derrick, not younger and dumber Derrick, or whatever people will say. Derrick should have said, I was an idiot. I was wrong. I hurt my wife. I hurt her trust, and I've ruined that. That's on me. That's what I've done. I have lied to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people about how to be a good partner, good companion. And all that time, I myself was being a terrible partner and terrible companion. That's on me. That has nothing to do with faith. That has nothing to do with her. That's my own ignorance, self-centeredness. That's not what he said. She should... You know what? I'm not going to speak on what she should do, because she, if anything, she doesn't need advice from people right now. She needs support. She needs empathy. And for those of you, maybe somebody out there knows her, be there for her as best as you can, because I guarantee you she needs it a lot. And it's a tragic situation on this. Just all the way around. And here's the thing. I fully anticipate Derrick to hop back onto his platform and start talking about how you should be a good this and be that and do this, because if you want to do this, then you'll get the girl or whatever, some shit that he puts out. And it's just frustrating. And sure, everybody can have faults, right? Everybody has some area in their life. I know that you and me and everybody sitting here can think through their life and be like, you know what? I do suck on some level as well. There's a part of me that I know I should be better at. Everybody has toxic traits in general. But not a lot of us are trying to preach in such a way that he is. And for him to try to hang his bad behavior on religion, on his past self, on all these different things, I just don't buy it. Non-verbally speaking, he is a dominant personality in their relationship, and not in a healthy way. He, I don't know. He's just not, I don't like him, to be very frank. I don't like what he does. It's just frustrating. And maybe there's always some good here and there, right? I don't know. But Yeah, I'm going to go back through here and read some of these comments. Go ahead and hit me up with your questions here. You kind of know my opinion on it. You saw what I saw here. Looks like $5 for the camera fund, $5 from the microphone fund, all these people for the microphone fund. I appreciate it. I think I'm going to move to like a boom system to where it hooks directly into the camera. Actually, another thing that I'm going to work on is getting a camera that's Netflix approved, because down the line I would like to be able to turn what Observe is into maybe more of a full production show rather than just me sitting in my studio working on this stuff and having this almost like intense academic hermit-esque style of work. I would like to be able to involve more people, so on and so forth. And then the microphones is going to be an important part of that. Let's see here. I'm going to start just reading some of these deals in here. Will you react to his reaction video? I didn't know that there was a reaction video, Emily. I might. But I also have to make sure that I get around to Jeff Wittick's video in the David Dobrik scandal, which I've been asked heavily to do as well. Struggling to find anything redeeming about this cheating fool. You're not alone on that front, Mo. It's just frustrating, especially if it's a repeat offense. That makes it even worse because cheating is a big deal and it's difficult to get over that. Let's see here. Some people, Lana's Missing Link says, I'd love to see this on Netflix. Be kind of cool. I just don't know about all of the like red tape in full production like that. Let's see here from Stephanie Considine, I believe, enjoying your channel. Thank you, and thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. And then from Shozan Hanma, I think women will forgive him. He has fame. I hope not. To an extent, maybe be willing to let him grow, but that's about as far as I would go. I wouldn't go so far as to do the full forgive thing right now, especially if this is the next time, however many times he's done this. Let's see here. His positive trait is that I'm positive I don't like him. Yes, Jennifer, I can relate on that front all the way around. Can anyone not hear me? Because according to this, it says that I should be audible. So if you can hear me, go ahead and do a thumbs up in the dealio. If you can't hear me, that's weird. Try closing out of the stream and reopening it if you can't hear me. But go ahead and do a thumbs up in there if you can hear me, because I want to make sure that you can. For those of you who are saying that he is narcissistic, I would lend towards that as well, maybe believe that, but I don't have a degree in psychology like that, so I'm not going to try to diagnose him in any way. And since I have a platform that I do, looks like a lot of people can hear me. Good. And since I have the size of platform that I do, I try not to diagnose on any level in that field, just because I don't want to accidentally or unintentionally offend somebody or spread a rumor that shouldn't be there, if that makes sense. So I would lend towards that, but that's just my personal opinion. Has nothing to do with my profession. So let's see here. All right, a lot of thumbs up for people here. Let's see. From Lady Melody, you should do the Ace family or whatever they're called now. I feel like something isn't right with Austin and Catherine, their relationship, I mean. I've heard of the Ace family. I have not watched any of their content, largely because I don't support family vloggers too much, oftentimes because everything that you see is a show, and it really gets, like, I don't know, super frustrating for me when they start implementing kids, because then I feel like there's questionable morals in that as well. So I haven't done anything on that, but chances are, if you watch something and you're like, you know what, this just gives me odd vibes, that's based off of your intuition. It's a fun story here on intuition. Your brain takes in millions of bits of information per second, and we are privy ourselves consciously to a very tiny fraction of that. Like, I think it's maybe 40,000. Don't quote me on those numbers because it's been a while since I've had to do that research. But we're privy to a very small fraction of it. And there's a model of intuition that people have that's centered on what's called thin slicing. Your brain will gather in these millions of bits of information and store them, but you're only consciously aware of a little bit of them, but your brain is aware of the rest of them subconsciously. So when you see or you experience something that you feel a gut feeling on, it could, if this model is sustainable, which so far it kind of has been, we're having trouble with just deciding what the mind is in general, but it has been somewhat sustainable. If it's correct that your brain actually making a calculation and coming to a conclusion based off of the millions of bits, while you're only consciously aware of these little tiny, this little tiny heap of bits over here. So you can train your intuition based off of this model, and you can also begin to rely on it a little bit more. So if you get those weird vibes from somebody, don't be afraid to listen to it. And I know that flies in the face of a lot of science. A lot of scientists will be upset about that. And the fact of the matter is we don't know enough about the mind, so anything that's brought up about the mind is gonna be hit and miss. But from what I've experienced so far, and I've been trying to rely on it more myself recently, you can train your intuition and you can make it more reliable. But anyway, from Evan Jade, Derrick gives me the creeps and that hand grasping was way too much. Thank you for pointing that out as well. It's true. It was just, I don't know, it just felt very overpowering to me. It felt like it was not a healthy situation, and it felt like he was definitely doing a lot of controlling in that situation as well through physical touch, which is common. And also thank you for the donation. And then also I see with just like 2 billion thumbs up here, a Scott Fraser, and I don't know, but that might be my brother-in-law, Scott Fraser. And if that's you, Scott, hi. If it's not, then hi, Scott, and I'm glad you could hear the stream. All right, down here from let's see here, user Tron. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. And we have from Melissa Maza. No question today, just happy to make a live stream again. I hope you're well. I'm glad you can make it as well, and thank you for the donation. And I'm doing all right. To be fully honest, I feel pretty under the weather. Just a lot of sore throat, headache, chills, everything. I just had the COVID vaccine because I am in that group that if I got it, I would probably have died. I have some pretty nasty lung issues, and my immune system's not super hot. So I wanted to go ahead and get that vaccine so I could stay alive and actually leave my house. But it's kicking my butt, man. It's doing a number on me. But thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. Let's see here. From Ceci Shaunu. Shaunu. Not sure. Thank you for the, I think that's high five, or it's a person with 2 different color hands clapping weirdly. But thank you anyways for the donation. From Jove. I'm not going to try your last name because I don't want to butcher it. Thank you for choosing carefully who you're examining on your platform. I do... Oh, can you hear me? Okay, I just dropped my microphone pack. Wouldn't that be great if I broke my microphone on stream as well? It's going to sit up here and you're going to have to deal with the awkward behind the scenes of a microphone. I do try to choose intentionally. There are certain subjects that I don't want to talk about because they can be offensive or hurtful or triggering to people. And if I do cover topics that are going to be that, I try to be clear about it. Sometimes I miss it. Like on this one, I feel bad because I didn't give a trigger warning at the beginning, and I should have. And I feel bad about that, but it was just absence of mind and being sick. But I really do try to select subjects and speak on subjects in a way that's not going to be harmful to the average viewer. If it's an apology from somebody who did a stupid thing, I'm more likely to be more harsh with them because they've already done the stupid thing. And so immediate forgiveness on negative things isn't necessarily helpful for a person moving forward. But for everybody else who is just viewing, you don't need to be triggered by another person's stupidity. So I try to be as tactful and as caring and as compassionate as I can to people who just, they don't deserve to be caught in crossfire, so to speak. So I'm glad that it conveys somewhat, and thank you again for your donation. From Maya Malcolm, Stephanie Lazarus is an interesting and eerie case. The fact that she's part of law enforcement makes her interrogation fascinating. Interesting. I haven't heard of, I recognize that name, but I haven't heard of the case. I might be able to get around to looking into it as well. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. If you do want to see that, comment it in videos and whatnot in the future. And as I see a name pop up more repeatedly, I get a lot of comments. So what ends up happening is that I'll see a name pop up like anywhere between 10 to like 50 times in a day throughout all the comments that are scrolling through, and then I will add it to a list that I have and go on and so on and so forth, so that I make sure that I'm getting applicable, interesting comments or content to you. Let's see here. Oh, from Serena Holland. Thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate it. I love your videos. I think what you do helps a lot of people understand nonverbals, even if their EQ is not high. Have you heard of Clubhouse? First, thanks again for the donation. I'm glad that it's helping some people. The goal of Observe and nonverbal communication through what I've been teaching and talking about is always to just add more richness to people's lives, understanding. So if you could see negative traits in a person that you're perhaps in like a relationship on any level with, be it friendship all the way to intimacy, if you can see them in yourself, if you can better empathize, so on and so forth. My goal is to be able to help people be better people towards themselves and to other people. That's kind of my end goal. I'm not really here just to pour into tea, although sometimes, let's be real, it's nice just to sip on a little bit of just the catastrophic tea that always seems to be all over YouTube. But my goal is really to be able to help people have a better life on some level, and also maybe have a little bit of fun and entertainment in there as well. And then I have heard of Clubhouse, but I don't know why I have heard of Clubhouse. So not really, I hope, would make the most sense. Thank you again for the donation. From L. I don't have a question. I just want to support you. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your support. And if you do think of a question, I don't know what the lowest donation level is, but if you would like donate a penny or something like that, then I will answer whatever question you have. But thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate it. Somebody says, from Raquel Flowers, please react to his second apology. Oh, he pulled a David Dobrik and released a second one, huh? Boy, that's exciting. I wonder if that's because the first one was garbage. I don't know. I might do that. I also don't want to give him more views than he already has, because I don't know, especially in this situation where he's talking about the thing that he did horribly wrong himself. I just feel like it's not a great thing to feed into. Let's see here. From Alexia Ma, I believe. Please react to people who claim that they saw paranormal things. Would be great. I might be able to. I'm trying to figure out ways that I can add more richness to the content here on Observe, because I used to have a pretty wide variety, and then as things spiked off, a lot of it focused back down to nonverbal communication, which is what Observe started with, was nonverbal communication. So I'm working on figuring out how to add more things eventually down the way, once perhaps Observe is much bigger and I have the physical locations, research locations, so on and so forth that I want. I'll be able to interview people actually involved in cases and talk about their nonverbal communication for the sake of education, to help people understand and see and so forth, so on and so forth. If you think about the show Mind Reader, if you haven't, or not Mind Reader, that's a podcast that I'm involved in, Mind Hunter, the show on Netflix, how he got to go around and speak to these people who were obviously very different, dark people, and get an understanding as to why they behaved the way they did, so on and so forth. I would like to do something similar, but to show how they behave. And we already know why, but let's see how and learn what we can from that, so on and so forth. I have some great ideas that I'm limited by right now, but good idea. I might be able to do something centered around paranormal stuff as well, because I think it would be fun. From Tanana Bread, nice to see you again. Thank you for the donation. Another vote for Stephanie Lazarus. Case, people chatting about it make it sound very interesting. Yeah, it sounds pretty interesting to me as well. So I might be able to get around to that. At very least, I'll add it to my list. How about that? All right, no question here. Just wanted to say thank you, or say I'm a COVID nurse, so thank you for doing your part in getting the vaccine. Carrie, thank you for doing your part. Your part is much harder than my part. My wife and I, we had some medical stuff come up a little bit before the vaccine, so her and I have been more or less fully quarantined inside our house from not last December, but the December before that, just with some severe health issues. We haven't really been able to leave our house so much for getting on 1.5 to 2 years now, and it's been very exhausting, so we've been very careful because both of us, it's really true. Like with even how I've been knocked out by the side effects of the vaccine, if I had gotten COVID, I am all but positive that I would have died. Or I would have been one of those people in the hospital begging for an oxygen tank and a bed, just because of how I'm built, which is broken. I am built broken. But thank you for doing everything that you have, especially if you're on that front line with people. That's my alarm for my dinner, so I'll be stopping here soon. All right, let's see here. Is it live from Azul, or is it pre-recorded video? Oh, you're seeing a fully live video right now. It's rare. I sometimes will do these, and I'm actually going to start doing more sprinkled in surprise live streams here and there. To be able to not only add some more fun and richness to just the channel, but then also to be able to add it over on Patreon later on so that people can watch that a little bit later, which is going to be the case with this one. This live stream is going to stay live on this channel for probably about a week. So if you want to be able to watch it, you can watch the analysis, hear what I have to say about it, see the question and answers, all that. The chat will be able to be replayed as well, so you can see those questions as I answer them. And then it will move over to my Patreon for the silver and gold tier to be able to enjoy that and have that as well for however long in the annals of time. So that allows me to be able to have a little bit less of a workload while providing content to my patrons, which I really appreciate. I shit you not, they are helping pay so many bills right now. It's astounding. I've been very, very flattered by just the number of patrons that have come in. So I'm trying to figure out ways to give content to people that are specifically going out of their way to support me that way. And yeah, that's just how that ends up going. I see a lot of people popping up here with some super chats. Thank you so much for all the donations. And let's start answering some questions or comments here. How are all your dogs and puppies doing? Well, Megan Saber, thank you for asking that. They're doing really, really well. Cora, who was about this big when she was on my last live stream, the puppy stream, which is over on my Patreon, is now like this long and really lanky girl, and she's so adorable. Like, she has moments of just pure cuteness where she just sits there and her ears are still like floppy over. We're worried that they're going to stand straight up like most German Shepherd ears do. We like the floppy ones, but I mean, we're happy either way, but they're staying floppy. So we have our fingers crossed. But she'll be like all cutesy and just chewing on a toy, and she'll like lick your hand when you pet her. And then she has other moments where I think she's possessed by Satan and destroys everything in the house. So it's a pretty big swinging pendulum on that side of things, but they're absolutely great. We got their teethies cleaned and stuff, and we're taking them to get groomed here in a little bit as well. So they're doing really well. Thanks for checking in on them. And also thank you for the donation. Let's see here from Christina Perez. I love your channel, especially all the criminal nonverbal reads you do. My question is, where do you get all your snazzy shirts? Ooh, okay, so first, thank you for the donation. I'm glad you enjoy the true crime stuff. I will always do true crime stuff because it's very interesting to me, and I think a lot of people enjoy it as well. Snazzy shirts. These are from Kurt River is where you can find these. They have a whole bunch of different ones. They're really cool. I tried to see if I could partner with them, and they never responded to me. So Kurt River, if you're watching this, where's the partnership at? But yeah, if you want to be able to check them out, just Google it, Kurt River. They have some really cool designs. I have this one, and I have another one, and then there's some other ones that I kind of liked but wasn't sure about, and they're always releasing new patterns and stuff like that. So yeah, that is where you get the snazzy shirts from, and I'm glad you like them. I like them too. From Melissa Maza, I thought of a question. Would you consider doing 2 truths or a lie, or possibly the room analysis of people, or to submit again? P.S. Feel better. First, thank you. I will try to feel better. Thank you for the donation. And then on the 2 truths and a lie, I was thinking about it. I might, but the difficulty is, which I quickly realized that after the first one, is that I have no way of building a baseline with these people, which means that then immediately the nonverbal read that I'll be doing is just relying on generalities, and it's going to make it pretty hit and miss. I might do it in a fun, like, challenge sort of way for me. Perhaps whenever COVID is more cleared up, I might be able to go out places and for like $5 or something like that, see if people can fool me, which that would add some pressure to them to be more likely to leak nonverbal just tells of deceit or whatever, and then it would also just add some engagement. So I think I will pick up the 2 truths and a lie. I just need to find a way to alter it to make it more enjoyable and make it more realistic for an actual nonverbal read, because at that level where it's just you only get 2 questions and 1 or 2 statements of truth and 1's a lie, that baseline is pretty unreliable just in general, because there's just not a lot to work off of. But I think I will like to get around to that one again eventually. I just have to figure out the best way to do it. And I am doing the room analysis one still. For those of you who are curious, the way that you have to submit on that one now is through Patreon, because there are so many people that just try to submit regularly. I could never get through the rooms, and I try to get them out sooner than later, because I've had an issue in the past of somebody submitting something and then it being like a year and a half later by the time I could finally get to their submission. And then by that point, they're like, well, this was maybe accurate back in the day. And I'm like, oh, sorry, which is true. You're a different person than you were a year ago. So I am still doing that. But if you want to be able to do that, it's through Patreon now as well. So thank you for the questions. Thank you for the donations. From Tabitha Dobbins, thank you for the hands. I've always got a question here. Is this a high five or is this praying hands? I think it looks like praying hands, but a lot of people are like, no, it's a high five. I don't know, but regardless, thank you for the hands and the heart and the donation. I really do appreciate it. And then from Chris P, which is interesting because that's my mom's name is Chris and my last name is Portinier. So Chris P is what she goes by when she tutors. Not sure if there's appropriate footage, but I'd be fascinated with an assessment of R. Bud, I can't pronounce that, contesting his conviction before he killed himself. I don't know if there is, and that might be a little difficult to do, and that would be a pretty triggering one for some people, especially knowing about the suicide thereafter. So maybe I might be able to. And I see Scott Fraser here, Luna 2.0 sometimes. Ooh, that lets me know that Scott Fraser is indeed Scott Fraser. Scott Fraser, hi Scott, hi. And yes, sometimes, but not near to that degree. For everybody who's confused by the Luna 2.0, let me tell you a story. I got a pug mixed with a Cocker Spaniel back in the day, several years ago. Very cute. We went there though, and it was a drug house, I think. And her nose was all coated in like this thick crust of smoke or something, and there was feces all over the house. It was a very upsetting situation, so we, of course, immediately adopted Luna. And according to all the research that we had done, she was supposed to be a very chill, quiet animal, more tendent towards the pug personality rather than the Cocker Spaniel side of things. Well, we got her home, and she was indeed very just quiet, chill, took a lot of naps, very cute, just adorably cute. Even now, fully grown, she just kind of looks like a lab puppy that has a lightly squished face. She's very cute. But as she continued to grow, an eternal force of energy continued to well up in her. And I kid you not, throughout, I think we had her for almost a year. Throughout that entire year, I saw her sleep maybe twice. Like she would be up all night because we could hear her barking, and she would be up all day because she would be just running. And we lived in an apartment at the time, and I was like, this is not what we signed up for. We had an apartment that we had been in for 4 days, and my wife and I had to go because I had to work and she had to work. And we had blocked off this area of the house where they could just kind of play in. And we set out potty pads. We did all the great things, right? Well, we came home to find out that Luna had dug a hole through the carpet and through the hardwood floor, or the like composite wood flooring underneath that, in a matter of 3 hours. And we were like, we can't do this. How do you do this? Fortunately, she is now living on my parents' 40-acre farm and spends all day running around, and she will jump and catch birds out of the air because she, I don't think, is actually from planet Earth. I do believe that she is proof of alien life. So thank you for bringing that back to mind, Scott. Really appreciate it. From Mary McCabe, something like that, from Mary. Love your content. Do narcissists have different nonverbal tells? Sometimes, anytime that there is some neurodiversity like that, there are various tells that are kind of eliminated or added, so on and so forth. Where it really boils down to, especially in these sorts of situations, is establishing a specific baseline on that side of things. I can rely less on generalities, and I have to rely more so on person-specific nonverbal tells. So they do have some variance, but everybody has some variance. What it really ends up being more so is that you can't rely on the universals as much. So it's limiting and it's difficult. It adds some complexity, but it's far from insurmountable. You can really navigate around it quite effectively if you take the time to do a good nonverbal baseline establishment. So hope that makes sense. From Carrie Claire, would you do a reading on Demi Lovato's latest interviews and documentary? I might do that. I saw that that was something that was coming up on the media a fair bit, so I might be able to get around to that, especially if I reach a time where I've done like 17 serial killers in a row and I feel very, very dark and broody myself. It might be a good refresher course to take a step out of true crime and into something else. So I might be able to get around to that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. From Mariana Kuna. I came for the nonverbal analysis, but I stayed because you're such a cool guy. Oh, thanks. If your channel was about sausage water, I'd still subscribe. If my channel was about sausage water, I don't believe I would be making content. I would unsubscribe from me. But I do appreciate the support, and thank you for the donation as well. I really do appreciate it. It's very, very, I really do honestly appreciate all of these donations, no matter how much they are. They do add up, and they have helped me out, especially in fields of like medical bills and so on and so forth. Those sorts of things can help kind of adjust, because this past month, with the interview being between Meghan and Harry and all of them, that being fully demonetized, and then also this one that I most recently released was demonetized. Just a lot of demonetization happened in that, so live streams like this really help carry that, so I appreciate that. Ooh, from Potato Lady, nice to see you again, and thank you for the donation. I originally requested Stephanie Lazarus, but wanted to add, your suit looks like a street magician from the 1910s. Thoughts? Thanks. So the reason that I wear this is a couple reasons. Not because I feel like I have to wear a suit every time, because I really don't. And it's largely because, one, I enjoy wearing suits. I like three-piece suits. I think they're fun. This one specifically is a stretch suit, so it's quite comfortable to wear. You can move around a lot in it and not worry about popping any seams, and there's a lot of flexibility in it. And then also because back in the day when I started Observe, it was called Mr. Virtuoso, which is just a catastrophic name, just a terrible name all the way around. But it also had a focus on mentalism, because back in the time, I had already been studying nonverbal communication for a while, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to make a channel centered specifically around that. But I did like the idea of mentalism and some of that stuff, and this specific get-up is common in the mentalism realms. For some reason, the three-piece suit comes in, and I think you're probably right. It has a little bit of a play off of the older street magicians and so on and so forth. So yeah, you wouldn't be wrong. Good eye on that front, and that's a little bit of the history as to why I wear what I do on the channel. But yeah, thanks. All right, let's see here. Okay. Another influencer was streaming your live on her live. Who? See, okay, I have so many questions here. So I don't know how to find anywhere that uses my stuff, because I don't have any of the like content ID stuff set up for myself, because most of the time I don't care. But then I was like, I wonder if anybody uses my things, and I've only seen a couple like videos that have referenced it or something like that, but I have no idea how to see if somebody references my stuff, and I don't really want to go claim it. I just would like to go see it, just to see kind of like what's being said and what's being done and so on and so forth. But who? From Amelia Kawa, something. What are you having for dinner? That's a great question. I don't really know yet. I will probably figure it out when I go up there. I think I might have this sweet glazed salmon. It's very tasty. It's so good, and it's not hard to prepare, and it's pretty good for me. So I think I might be doing that with maybe like a green on the side, like a green beans or something like that, just to be able to have a little bit of a rounded dinner. As far as drink, though, I think it'll be a pretty wacky, crazy cup of water, because that's pretty nuts. But yeah, I think that might be it. But I'm not sure. It could also, there's just as much chance that I'll be like, I want to order some sort of trashy takeout food and shovel garbage into my body as well. You never know with me. It's like a gamble. Let's see here. 1.5 thousand watching, less than 1,000 likes. Smash the like button if you want to see him more. Well, thank you, Spacey Stacy One. Don't worry about liking the video. I do appreciate it, but as long as people are enjoying the streams themselves, that I'm happy to do whatever. I honestly do this, and I have been doing this for so long because I actually really, really love doing this. This is so much fun. I've worked professionally a whole bunch of different stuff, and nonverbal communication has always been there. I've either been teaching or consulting on nonverbal communication for 7 to 8 years now. And alongside of that, I've had to work other supplementary jobs, and then there's always been YouTube, and I love doing this, so I'm always going to do this kind of regardless. That's why I did it for, I don't know, I did it for 7.5 years, 7 years, something like that, before getting any sort of traction. I think I did it for 4 years before I saw any money come in from it, and then I would make maybe $100 a year off of it. So I'm not here for the money. I am here because I like doing it. So I appreciate the support. I appreciate shout outs like that. But even if they don't come in, I'm sorry. I'm going to be here. All right, let's see here. I'm going to answer just a couple more questions, and then I think I'm going to go. My throat is starting to ache a wee bit more than I'd like it to. And I still have to record a whole bunch of material tomorrow. So let's see here. From Lanterns Oil, could you react to YouTuber Pastor Mike Winger on his Ravi Zacharias video? Maybe. I tend to stay away from anything that's centered around religion or anything around that because it sparks like controversy in areas that I'm not here to spark controversy in. I might be able to, but if I do it, it'll be centered exclusively around nonverbal communication and have nothing to do with religion. But if I get enough requests for it, then yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Oh, and right now we're at 888 likes. So what a good 89. It was such a good pattern, and then you just destroy. I'm gonna have to cry now. I'm gonna be crying into my salmon for the rest of the night. I'm just kidding. Thank you. All right. Let's see here. Let's see. Scapegoating, blah, blah, blah. Talking about the deal. Very true, very true. A lot of people still talking about the earlier analysis. Very fair. Okay, from Drone Derone. I believe I said that right. Can you review Michael Jackson interviews? I've been thinking about it. The difficulty is that I have specifically with that. It's not that I don't want to do it because, to be fair, it'd probably be very popular. A lot of people would watch it, and I've seen a lot of other videos that have discussed it and covered it. The reason that I haven't is because for the sake of people who have been through similar things that could be massively harmed by what I say. Because say I walk into this and I honestly know nothing about it. I've heard some of the allegations, and that's about as far as I know. I heard that he has been accused of pedophilia by people. And so say I walk into this and I see that he's being authentic. Well, if I say that, then that can inadvertently harm many, many people who have been groomed themselves or have been harmed themselves in that way, and I don't want to do that. I by no means want to do that. And say I go into that and I say I have a misread. What if I read him and I say, he's being deceitful, he's obviously this way, and he wasn't. Well, then I have spread a rumor about somebody who shouldn't have that rumor ever spread about them. And in this area, I can get up to about 70 to 80% sure on things, but that small fraction of percentage that will always exist just to the nature of nonverbal communication research and science at this time, that small percentage of possible error is too effective to groups that I don't want it to be effective towards. So that's why I've been staying clear of that. It's a very good question, and I know a lot of people want me to speak on it, but I don't want to inadvertently cause pain in people's lives that I have no business causing pain in. And that's one of those things where the people involved are one thing, and then there's a large amount of people caught in the crossfire, and I don't want anybody to be emotionally or psychologically triggered by something that I am saying, especially on a subject like this. So I hope that makes sense. I'm sorry that I have to say no on that front. Perhaps as nonverbal communication research advances and there's more reliable tells because we understand the brain more, the mind more, and how it plays out and what that means nonverbally, perhaps as that goes on, I will be able to create a video on subjects like that with much more certainty. So instead of it being maybe 70 to 80%, it could be 90 to 100% accuracy. Then I would have more confidence in that. Until then, I don't want to feed into a fire, especially if I feed into it incorrectly. So I appreciate the request and the comment. I'm afraid I won't be able to. I hope you do understand. Let's go ahead. I will respond to these from Meg Smith. Love your channel. Go and eat. I'm about to do that. And then from Jovi, again, I can't pronounce that last name, but have a good dinner. Thank you so much. Hannah, thank you for your donation. Thank you, everybody, for getting those likes way, way up there. I just looked at that again, and that's almost 100 more likes, so y'all are nuts. So thank you so much for all of that. Let's see here. I will answer just this one more because I think it's funny. I think, where are we at here? I feel that for the analytical side, we have observed, what zodiac sign are you? And then somebody down here says, from Angelica, I'm just going to guess Aquarius because I am an Aquarius. And you are right. I am apparently an Aquarius. So there you go. And Tanana Bread, the chat is betting on your zodiac sign. Survey says it's Aquarius. There we go. I was born in January, on January 23rd. That's my birthday. Apparently, I think that's the same birthday as Michael Stevens from Vsauce. Coincidence? I don't know. Wait a second. Vsauce, Michael here. I don't know. I would love to do a collaboration with Vsauce someday. So I hope that you all had a good time today. I really do appreciate everybody who donated. Thank you. It was nice to see some familiar names in there. I hope you enjoyed this analysis. And then once again, if you want to be able to see this after a week is up, it'll be over on my Patreon for the silver and gold tiers. So if you want to be able to see it then, go ahead and rock and roll over there. But it will be up here live on the channel for a while. But let's see here. I think that's about it. Thank you so much for showing up. And oh wait, outro. Let's do the correct outro, and then I'll end the stream because that's the way it has to go. But without further ado, that's all that I've got for today. My name is Logan, and you have been oh so awesome, as you always are. And I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.